Brought to you by Create 2 Media. It's the Father-Son Talk Sports Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Father-Son Talk Sports Show. This your boy Paul here with Dad to me, Paul to you.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, what's going on, Pop? How you feeling, man? Ain't nothing to it.
What about yourself, son?
Man, you know what? I actually have been feeling good, and I actually feel a little bit better because you brought up an interesting proposition to me about this potential expansion for a playoff of a game I love in college football.
Oh, yeah, big time. That's interesting.
Yes, that is interesting. So I thought that, when we talked, maybe we would give our take on what we think about what a potential expansion could mean to college football. What do you think, Dad?
You know something? I feel two ways. As a fan, more of the sport that I have, and the more teams that get in, of course, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. The only problem I have with it is that does it blur the line between amateur athletics and compensation? I mean, that's my biggest take on it. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't think that it makes them professionals in any way, but I do believe that they're just having a little bit more competition, allowing those smaller schools, the maybe ones that could just have a shot. Like Cincinnati last year was a perfect example of a team that probably could have had a shot on a big stage against a big opponent. And I think that could happen. If they expand the field to 12 teams, you could potentially have a Cinderella, similar to what the NCAA has in basketball in their tournament. But I think in basketball, you don't really get Cinderellas. You just get the brands. And that's what we were talking about before, like Ohio State, Alabama, so on and so forth. Those are they're going to be there. Like Alabama's going to be there. Ohio State's going to be there. But what about those teams? Every year you got that one team on the fringe that can stake a claim for one of those, if they do expand it, one of those extra spots.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Like I said, as a fan, I believe that the competition will be wonderful to watch. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure what it'll do to the bowl season. Right now it's already been leveled sort of irrelevant, and I'm quite sure that it would make it even more irrelevant. And then on top of that, like I said, right now, is it just a money grab, the reason that they're doing this? Because it just doesn't, in a way, seem fair that you're asking those student athletes to play an additional game, and the universities are making all the money, and they're not being able to be compensated at all. In some ways, I believe that they need to get together and figure out, for instance, if the football players can make money off their likeness. Maybe they should get together and do that first before they announce the expansion of the college football playoff to me.
And see, in that part, I don't agree with. And the reason why I don't is because we're talking about the playoff expansion is not going to affect bowl season. It's already watered down. It's still going to be watered down even after the expansion. So those teams, the teams that we're talking about not in the playoff, they're still not going to be in the playoff. They're still going to go to a bowl game. They still got to do something. So the teams in the bowl are the ones that are going to have to deal with the extra games to try to vie for a championship. And those players that you're talking about that you advocate for compensation for, those players are going to get more exposure on a bigger stage. Can you imagine the stage if college football had any type of a scene kind of similar to March Madness? It would be ridiculous. And that's a part, here that can build their careers. Like I know you were talking about a Joe Burrow or a Cardale Jones, someone who thrived under those scenarios. To become what they were, to be able to cash out and to make money off of themselves. I think it gives you the exposure, especially when you play for the brand. Like, when you play for Ohio State, that elevates the stage that much more.
And see, like I said, said, as a fan, Ohio State was left out a couple of the bowl championships to see the college football playoffs a couple times within the period and duration that it's been in effect. And you're basically saying that Ohio State would have gotten in under a 12-man format. And I understand that. I understand that it's not always fair to a couple teams every year. But with that being said, from just a business standpoint, the NCAA is setting the path to be able to make millions on millions of dollars and sign lucrative TV contracts. And yet the players right now, there is really no avenue for them to get any compensation out of that money. And I'm not sure from a business standpoint or a fairness standpoint.
Hey, Dad, it's helping them.
As a fan, I loved it.
Dad, it's helping them. I mean, that exposure is helping them. All of this is helping them. I know it doesn't translate to dollars and cents right now, but to the small percentage of the players who can actually monetize themselves, it will just exponentially help them at the next level. And that's what I mean. So here, right now, I mean, you're saying that the NCAA is going to make millions. I understand that. They're already making millions and billions of dollars. Like that's not really the point. The point is that you're picking up a more competitive schedule, okay, allowing more teams to be able to try to win a championship, and you're not really adding that much of pressure to the overall college football landscape. I mean, it's really a no-lose scenario. I don't see where you lose. The only time I can see you losing is if you play a 12-game regular season, then you play your conference championship game, and that's the 13th game. Then you got to go, if you don't get, if they propose to have a first-round bye, then you go and you have to play 3 games to win a championship. So then that would equal 16 games. But right now, under the current way, you have to win 15 games to win a championship. So it's just one more game that we're talking about.
Well, I understand that, but it's still one more game.
Yeah.
To something that they're not being compensated for at all anyway. So you're just putting another game on.
But they are being compensated. That's what I'm trying to say. Like them playing for that brand, and that's extra exposure. That is money. That is endorsement deals. That is exposure. All exposure is good exposure. So I'm saying that those players are making money. It might not be money in their pockets today, but it's going to be money in their pockets later on. A couple of months later, they could potentially get drafted. Or if they're not draft eligible, if they're sophomores, they're going to boost their credibility for junior and senior year. So there's nothing really bad to happen. And here, any catastrophic injury, it can happen at any time. So you don't know if one more game is going to be the difference between, your knee getting blown out or not. But here on those type of stages, that's where those kids make their money. And that's where they have to be of the mindset that there is something in it for them. It's not a check, because at the college level, you don't get a check. I mean, that's just not the way it goes.
Well, but Pablo, aren't you proposing, or you basically stating that there's a problem with the draft process the way that it is, and that the same dollars would just be allocated to possibly different players in different draft positions because someone has a magnificent college football playoff, but the money is still the same? Only thing I'm saying is that when you start blurring the line and putting on additional games in football.
But you're saying games with an S. You're talking about a game. Well, that's what we gotta keep this. We got to be as pointed as we can be. We're talking about one more game between the champion and the runner-up. Everybody else is not going to play that game. That's why I say bowl games stay where they are. The regular season stays where it is. The schedule doesn't have to change.
We haven't seen the final blueprint.
Yeah, but what we propose is, what we're proposing is that the top teams, whoever is eligible for the playoff, are vying for a first round bye. Okay, that leaves the other teams to play week 1, if you want to call it that, and then then the teams that have the bye play, and then the teams that have the bye only have to play 2 games, which is 15 to win a championship, and the teams that don't have to play 16 to win a championship. But all those teams aren't going to play that 16th game. It's only going to be 2 teams. So I think that's what I mean. Like we're not talking about a seismic shift in the philosophy.
A lot of them not going to play the conference champion.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of players are opting out. A lot of players are doing this and doing that, and that's fine. Players can do that. I'm not even talking out against that. I'm all for expansion. I'm all for the competition that it will bring, and I'm all for the exposure that the players will get. Because all exposure is good exposure. If they had to go out there and play 18 games, I would say, man, 18, 19 games, they're getting up there. But if they just playing one more game and only the champion has to play that game, I don't see where the downside is.
And I understand what you're saying. But like I said, as a fan, I completely am for it. The more competition, the better. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I'm saying is from amateur or a college football player's perspective, one might say, if you're asking for one more game, mm-hmm. then there should be some type of compensation for it. It's just that simple.
I got you.
It's just like basically, I was reading where they were talking about that the college football players can form a union, and I think that might be fair too. Because when you look at it, these colleges are making millions of dollars for college football, and a lot of these programs are the leading incomes that the colleges have. And from a business perspective or a perspective of amateurism, to me that line is completely blurred.
It's not.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying that it's not, and the reason why I'm saying it's not is because Ohio State is the brand, okay? No one player or group of players made that brand. That brand was built over time. Same thing with Alabama, same thing with Oklahoma, same thing with every blue blood that you can name, okay? So when you play for Ohio State, then you get a certain cachet. You get a certain boost just because you play for the Buckeyes. You play for Alabama, you get that same boost. I'm just using those two programs because obviously those are blue bloods. I mean, they're not the only ones, but they are blue bloods. So at the end of the day, it's like the difference between, like I said before, Nick Chubb and Ezekiel Elliott. Nick Chubb is a more quiet character guy, and he went to Georgia. Ezekiel Elliott went to Ohio State. I think that in the pros, there really isn't too big of a difference between those two players. I would argue, say Nick Chubb is better. So if Nick Chubb played for Ohio State, then Nick Chubb would be where Zeke is, and Zeke would, if he played for Georgia, wouldn't have as much cachet as he has today because he didn't play. In that scenario, he would not have played for the brand, and that's what I mean about them paying players. The player is there to build their exposure for the next level. That's what they're there for. They're not there to make money or have the university pay them outside of a scholarship to use their platform. That's all it's for. And you're supposed to build your platform up so that you can make money, whether you make it to the NFL or not. And, so that your autograph is worth money where, sometimes, everybody's autograph isn't worth money. I can sign a piece of paper right now. It ain't worth $2, 2 cents. But, but if Justin Fields signed a piece of paper, that's different. And that's because the player plus the program equals that's the value. But the program is the program. And no player is bigger than the program. None.
And I understand what you're saying from that perspective. But the question is does the program have the right to ask you to expose yourself one more game? And see, that's all I'm saying. It's just that simple. I understand the program. I understand the NCAA. I understand their reasoning. The only thing that I'm saying is that proposing or to think that there was a problem before, where one could simply argue that there really is not a problem. But in order for it to be, bigger TV contracts and to make more money, that this is being proposed, I just don't understand why you can ask the college athlete to go out and play one additional game, and the only thing that he's getting is room and board and a scholarship. That's all I'm saying.
I got it. I mean, here, we could debate it till we blue in the face. I mean, it's still...
I'm quite sure they will.
Here, ultimately...
One of the things that will take place during this period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like I said, it's just at the debate level with them. So, we'll see what comes of it. But, we just wanted to get our opinions in real quick on what we felt about that.
So how you all thinking about it?
Yeah.
Forming your own opinions.
Exactly.
And when you form those opinions, hit us back.
Yeah, I mean, here, put it in the comments because I'm really curious to know what college football fans feel about a potential expansion for the playoff that could get can get 8 to 12 teams in, 6 teams. I mean, whatever you think is fair, I want to see it. So definitely put that in the comments. Click subscribe if you haven't already. And we will definitely see you next time, brother.
You take care, everybody. God bless, man. Stay safe.
Stay safe, guys.